Dana White went live today and he announced all of the fights. He announced the main card for UFC Vancouver. Now, UFC Vancouver's main event is RDR versus Anthony Hernandez. We're going to get into the other fights that he announced. We're going to talk about this first. Now, I see what the UFC is doing here. We just saw Khamzat Chimaev, whether I like it or not, dominantly win against Dricus du Plessis. We know Khamzat Chimaev does not have the best resume when it comes to returning to the octagon twice in the same year. Statistically speaking, we will be seeing Khamzat Chimaev in 2026. We will not see him defend the belt in 2025. Now, if you haven't known, you should. Nasser Dinimov and Carl Brahalio are going to be fighting September 6th, right? That's the main event, and that was supposedly the #1 contender fight that everybody was waiting for. This is going to be who's next in line for the winner of DDP versus Khamzat, right? They know that Khamzat is not going to be an active champion, so the UFC has created a middleweight tournament to cement the true #1 contender of the division, right? So we don't have to be so bored without Khamzat. That's what's going on. They are making RDR versus Anthony Hernandez squabble it out because they know Khamzat is not going to be able to fight more than one contender a year. That's what the UFC knows. Now, Anthony Hernandez is coming off of a vicious win over Roman Dolidze. Now, the way that he beat up Roman Dolidze made Roman Dolidze look like he didn't know what he was doing in there, which is a little bit surprising. I hold Roman Dolidze at a high standard. We even picked Roman Dolidze to beat Anthony Hernandez when that fight went down. RDR is coming off of a razor-close decision against Robert Whittaker and a true beating against Bo Nickel. Let's keep it real. That beating against Bo Nickel was an absolute thrashing. It was a thrashing, right? I think that either of these two dudes, Anthony Hernandez or RDR, have a better chance of beating Khamzat Chimaev than Nasser Dinimov or Carlo Brahalio. If you didn't know, RDR trained with Khamzat Chimaev and Dricus du Plessis separately and respectively, right? So he has felt these dudes' power. He knows what's going on over here. Now, to be fair, he did pick DDP to beat Khamzat Chimaev, which, same here, buddy. Obviously didn't happen. But I'm bringing that up to say that he definitely has the best chance out of all these dudes. RDR has the most wrestling credentials, the most grappling credentials, the most submission wins out of all four of these dudes that we're talking about. I didn't check that. That's a stat coming off the brain. Don't correct me in the comments, please. But I see what the UFC is doing here. They're not slick. They said, you know what? If DDP wins this, he's obviously going to make a quick turnaround. We don't need to set up two #1 contender fights. You know what I'm saying? Let's build stars respectively, and then when we need the stars, we call them in. They're over here pitting stars against each other. They just built up RDR, and Anthony Hernandez just got the shine that he needed. Dricus du Plessis was talking about Anthony Hernandez more than he talked about Khamzat during this fight week. During his fight week. Let's keep it a buck. Right. Who I think is going to win this fight, I'm going to be honest with you. I think that Anthony Hernandez has more plot armor than RDR. I think Anthony Hernandez is destined to go out there and squabble RDR up and then go out there and lose to to fucking Khamzat Chimaev. RDR has the best chance out of everybody of beating Khamzat Chimaev just based off of the grappling credentials, right? RDR does look like the smallest, weakest out of the group. Out of the four #1 contenders that I've named, RDR is definitely the weakest. Nothing wrong with saying that, but this card has some alright stuff on it. This UFC Vancouver card. The co-main event is Chito Vera versus Zabi. We haven't seen Zabi in a little bit. I'm ready to see Zabi step in there against Chito Vera. I kind of feel like they're feeding Chito Vera to the wolves after he got a title shot against Sean O'Malley and did absolutely nothing besides stand there and get beat up like Roman Kopylov did against Paulo Costa. But they're going to give Zabi a chance to shine himself up. They have Kevin Holland versus Mike Mallet on here. Okay, absolute savage. Kevin Holland is working, boys. Kevin Holland is getting that check. No matter how much I don't like Kevin Holland, sure do I respect that work ethic. Even if you're going in there knowing you're going to lose, get beat up, get thrashed, my boy is going to step in there and get that show money. You best believe Kevin Holland is stepping in to get that show money. Of course, I'm betting on Mike Mallet against. I would bet on a 5-year-old against Kevin Holland. Okay, you give Kevin Holland a hard enough time, he's going to quit. All right, but That's just a fact of life. Now, they did add Furga versus Jadzuvicius on UFC Vancouver. 2 women, okay, a woman squabble. I know it's the fight that everybody was waiting for. Why aren't they the main event over RDR versus Anthony Hernandez? I don't know. But boys, I'm excited for UFC Vancouver. Now, when I heard that Dana White was making an announcement, I was hoping maybe it was a pay-per-view, you know? I was hoping maybe we would see a pay-per-view, maybe a sneaky pay-per-view, a sneaky November pay-per-view, a sneaky September pay-per-view. You know what I'm saying? Something. UFC Noche isn't cutting it for me, Dana. I'm sorry to break it to you. All right? I'm sorry. But, boys, they have created a middleweight tournament because Khamzat Chimaev has decided to be inactive. That's just what it is now. Anyways, I wish both of these dudes, RDR and Anthony Hernandez, extreme luck. That's going to be an absolute firefight. I think Anthony Hernandez gets the job done, though. I do, even though RDR has the best chance. RDR just looks a little wobbly against Robert Whittaker if we're going to be honest, all right? And Anthony Hernandez looked like he just got off the county yard. All right? We're going to go Anthony Hernandez here. I hope everybody has a good one. I'll catch you guys later. So.